For those that are watching and want to be a delegate, the deadline to register for a delegation for any of the reports recommended for consideration by City Council is the Monday prior to the meeting at noon. We have 4 administration reports to look at today. Before we get to those, can I have someone move a motion to approve the agenda at the call of the chair? Councillor Bizo, I'll call the question. Any opposed? Carried. Can I have someone move a motion to adopt the minutes of the public meeting that we held on June 25th, 2026? Mayor Baczynski, any errors or omissions? I'll call the question. Any opposed? That is also carried. Okay, let's get into the administration reports. First one up is AFC 26-18, the 2026 second quarter general and utility operating forecast. I will ask Jeff May, Acting CFO and Deputy City Manager, to please introduce the report. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. Through the chair, this report presents the City of Regina's second quarter general and utility operating forecast. As outlined in the report, the city is forecasting a $2 million general operating fund surplus and a $1.3 million utility operating fund surplus. In the event that these surpluses hold true at the end of the year, these amounts would be transferred to the general fund reserve and the general utility reserve, respectively. I'll ask Sheena Carrick to walk you through the forecasts. Sheena?
Thank you. So just a quick point that this second quarter forecast was completed as of information known as of June 30th. And then the other thing to note is it largely mirrors what we had reported for Q1 forecasts. So the general operating fund surplus of $2 million represents a 0.3% favorable variance compared to the 2026 budget. The overall surplus is primarily due to $3.4 million higher than anticipated tax revenues due to higher than anticipated growth in the assessment base, favorable appeal decisions, and a higher than anticipated tax penalty revenue. $1.2 million higher than anticipated overhead charges from fee-supported services. Overhead charges are built into fees that are cost recovery to recover administrative support costs such as legal, human resources, technology, facilities, and finance. $400,000 higher than anticipated revenue from recreational facilities due to increased usage. And that's offset by unfavorable variances or forecasted variances of $1 million for fire services salary costs exceeding budgeted amounts. $1 million forecasted unfavorable variance in software licensing and computer hardware replacement costs. And $1 million unfavorable variance in non-salary operating costs for transit services, primarily due to higher than replacement costs, or part replacement costs. The utility operating fund surplus of $1.3 million represents a 0.7% favorable variance compared to the 26 budget. The overall surplus is primarily due to $1.4 million additional revenue due to forecasted water usage and higher than anticipated growth in the number of users, offset by unfavorable forecasted variance in debt payments due to an error in the budget for debt payments. The second quarter forecast is based on the most current information that we know, June 2026 actual revenues and expenditures in our professional judgment. There may be future unforeseen events or challenges that could impact several areas and the delivery of a balanced operating budget at the end of the year. Administration continues to monitor the following matters, which may create uncertainty in achieving our budget, such as the impact of collective bargaining agreements for the Amalgamated Transit Union and the Regina Civic Middle Management Association. These agreements have expired as of December 4. Winter road maintenance expenditures are weather dependent and difficult to predict. The second quarter forecast includes a $217,000 surplus in the winter road maintenance operations, which will be transferred to the winter road maintenance reserve at the end of the year, should that surplus hold true. And then lastly, just to note, the volatility of fuel costs may may be impacted by the ongoing geopolitical instability. The second quarter forecast fuel costs are projected to be on budget. So with that, administration would be happy to answer any of the questions from the committee.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carrick. Before we start to discuss it, I'll need somebody to move the report. Councillor Bezo, thank you. Do you wish to speak to the report?
Yes, but I'll wait till. Yes, I will, Chair, but I'll wait till everyone's with their comments first.
Very good. Any questions from the team? Yes, Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks through the chair, and thanks team for the work on this. Some good, cautiously optimistic, I guess we could call it. Just a question through the chair around, you'd mentioned surplus going to the GFR, which obviously we've talked a lot about trying to get that into a healthy spot. Does administration, like if whatever amount were to hold true, let's say of any surplus, can you just maybe walk us through, if there would be a recommendation to find a balance between GFR, required mill rate increase, and how that would relate to the operating areas projections for their requirements for budgets going into next year when we go into budget debate. So I just want to if you can, I guess good news that we haven't maybe been in this scenario yet in these chairs where we've been able to talk about what do we do if a surplus was to happen. So just wondering if you could kind of walk us through what considerations council and decisions we would need to make and what administration would look at when they, kind of making those recommendations.
Go ahead, Mr. May.
Thank you. Through the chair, in terms of year-end surplus and it being close to the general fund reserve and how that might affect 2027 budget decisions, I would say that as we want to be careful about using one-time sources of revenue, which is the surplus, and making sure that we're not using that to fund ongoing expenses. So where this has occurred in the past is previous councils have made decisions during their budget deliberations to fund, say, a grouping of one-time cost increases that are predicted to come forward in the next year with the withdrawal from the general fund reserve. But in terms of the year-end process, we would simply take the 2026 surplus as it was and close that to the reserve. As council's making its budget decisions, it could then say, okay, we have some one-time costs or some capital costs that we'd like to make sure get dealt with in 2027, and choose to take money out of the GFR for that. That's how those two things would be related.
Okay, perfect. And sorry, through the chair, but administration, if there was an expense, let's say through this surplus that you identified as an ongoing savings, let's say, that would be identified for council to consider. So if it wasn't a one-time savings, it was we've identified that on an ongoing basis, this is not an expense that we would expect for 27, 28, 29 years gone by, that would be coming forward to council to identify the difference between a one-time savings versus an ongoing savings.
That's through the chair, yes.
Okay, perfect. No, that is perfect. And then just one more piece just to kind of close the loop on it. So we have some forecasted considerations about putting money into the GFR, about how, council directive, to put money into the GFR. Would this play into that amount, or would this be in a complete addition? Like we would have that directive and then we would have to, kind of like you said, put all this in, and then council would make a decision on whether or not on a one-time basis we would want to put all of that in or not. But it would be, we have the directive and this is going in with it, or would those two play together at all?
So through the chair, the surplus that we are forecasting here is over and above the contribution to the reserve that council directed administration to budget for.
Perfect. Thank you very much, team. Thanks for the clarification. Thanks, Chair.
Good stuff. Mr. Fallows, you're up.
Yes, I don't want to really be the person who interrupts the high fives from the potential surplus, but I do have a question that might, maybe not necessarily, poop on the party a bit. I'm looking at Appendix A1, and I'm wondering if you could tell me where investment income, what line investment income is on? What is it included in?
Mr. May, is that you?
Ms. Carrick?
Sorry. Ms. Carrick, go ahead.
Sure, thanks. Through the chair, investment income shows up on other external revenues, so our variance to budget is a favorable 5.6 million.
Thank you. And I have, through the chair, I have a follow-up question. I'm aware that on the balance sheet at December 31st, 2025, we show a large amount of investments, about $453 million or some amount like that, very large amount. And the notes to the financial statements say that some of it's invested in equities, but a lot is invested in conservative fixed income products, bonds, mortgages, that type of thing. My question is that we all know that interest rates have been rising throughout most of this year. We see bond rates at all terms, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, at the highest levels they've been at in the past 15 years or so. And we know that rising rates are bad for fixed income investments. So I'm wondering about that $453 million investment portfolio at December 31st. How has it been faring in this market, given that generally investors in bonds, mortgages, real estate have been having a really rough year? And the other aspect of that question, and I know that makes it complicated, is I know that these market value changes don't necessarily go through the income statement. They don't necessarily go into surplus. They go into this accumulated remeasurement gains and losses. It might just be a pure balance sheet transaction. So in other words, our portfolio could lose money, but we could still show this $2 million surplus. So this is a really long way of asking, do you have a sense of, have we been incurring market losses in that portfolio this year that don't show up in that surplus?
Mr. May, go ahead.
Through the chair.
I've got it.
Through the chair, we have an internal committee, investment committee, that on a quarterly basis reviews the performance of our investments, along with TD Asset Management, who is our partner in that. And so far, I can say that we don't have any concerns with the returns that we're seeing. They're well within what we would expect.
Okay. Through the chair, I just asked for some clarification or a little bit more color, because there's a couple ways you could measure that. So one would be to say we're meeting our benchmarks, and that would be the conventional way of saying, yeah, we're doing okay. But then there's also the absolute return. Like if a market crashed 30% and you only lost 20, you'd say, well, yeah, we did pretty well, but you still lost 20. So which were you referring to there when you said the committee is satisfied? Are they satisfied with the benchmark, or are they satisfied with the absolute level of return?
Through the chair, both. We do have internal policies about returns that we want to see, and the actual returns that the information we're getting, like the market compared to the market as a whole, are also positive. So, and in terms of your other question about would some of the gains, if you will, just be a purely balance sheet exercise? Yes, that would be the case if we don't actually crystallize those gains and reinvest, which has typically been our practice in the past, as far as my understanding. So typically we would crystallize those gains and not make it just a balance sheet exercise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fellows. Mr. Eng, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Through the chair, just want to build on Jim's comments, and I apologize, Your Worship, for curbing your enthusiasm, but do we... Would you say, as a second quarter, it's good to see a positive surplus. If there was a deficit in quarter Q3, Q4, would this surplus cover this deficit, or do we need to move, if there was an opportunity to move it to the GFR in quarter 2, and then if there was a deficit in Q3, do we move it back out of the GFR to cover the deficit, or is it continuous throughout the fiscal year? Thank you.
through the chair, we wouldn't actually make any sort of accounting entry in our books until the end of the year. This is all the forecast. So as you have noted, we could end up in a deficit position by the end of the year. And if that is the case, then we will balance that off by a withdrawal from the general fund reserve to cover that deficit for 2026.
Does that mean you're done, Mr. Eng? Okay, you turned off your own mic. Save me some work. Mr. Bezo, you haven't said much. Here you are. You've now got the floor. Go ahead, Councillor.
And I think it's for a whole 5 minutes.
Pardon?
I think I get 5 minutes, don't I?
There's no time here.
Oh, perfect.
Take your time, although
Perfect. Well, I see the city manager sitting in the back row. Maybe he'll order supper for comments now. Overall, I'm going to say, we got the second quarter report, which is perfect. We're looking at putting some money into the GFR, correct? Right now, we're looking at perhaps having a surplus. We don't know yet. The question is that I have, being the second quarter and we're driving into September, so we know we're off. We know construction's happening. We know R&M is happening. How does this information drive down to the directors and managers to manage their budget when I'm only seeing this today and they only have a very short time period to pivot and to correct? So we don't see red, that we see more black. For example, I don't see the fire chief here today to explain his variance, but I see a big variance. Last year it was told because we have wages that weren't accounted for in the CBA. This year we don't know what this is, and that's one of the questions. What is the variance for the fire department and fire protection services? And then the second question is specifically, how does this information drive down to the functional groups that are actually supposed to manage this budget for you to report?
So thank you, through the chair. Yes, there is a lag between the time when we started working on this and by the time it hits your agenda. Sorry, Ms. Carrick, if you could say just when we started working on this?
Middle of June.
So middle of June. So by that point, the folks that feed into this whole process, that give us the variance explanations, they've examined their operations, they've seen their forecasts, and they are now have an understanding of where they think they're going to be at the end of the year. And their expectation is that they will manage their operations accordingly. So in June, they would have had an answer as to how they think they're doing so far. And I can't tell you as of today what they've done between June and today, but we will bring that third quarter forecast earlier. But yes, as you say, there is a lag. So it's not to say that nothing's been done and nobody's managing their operations or managing their forecasts or their variances since June. They are actively doing that on a daily basis. But you're right, there is a time lag between when we get this finished, reviewed, on the agenda, and out in the public realm. So to reiterate, the folks are working on it. They are managing their business proactively on a day-to-day basis. It's not stuck to, this came to Audit Finance Committee, now we need to deal with it.
Okay. And on the police variance, or sorry, the fire protection services variance?
Do you have more details on that?
Other than the CBA, that's.
Other than increases to the CBA being higher than what we had budgeted for, that's all. That's our understanding of the situation.
Okay. Well, that was a last year explanation. Can we dig into this a little further?
I think the explanation is that we also misbudgeted in 2020 for 2026, the effect of what was bargained.
Okay. So this is a carryover that was.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming up in 2027 budget,
We shouldn't have.
are
this
we going to
problem.
be a little more accurate? And the fire chief is not here to answer for this.
That's true.
Yeah.
But if there are specific questions, we can bring them back to you. But I would say to you that the reason for this year's variance is, yes, we under budgeted in 2026.
Okay.
And for 2027, I know that my staff have had several conversations with the fire staff to make sure that we get the fire salary budget correct for 2027.
Okay, perfect. Then on the last thing, I think part of our goal at Audit and Finance and receiving these reports is to essentially work ourselves out of this job with the upgrade that's happening. How is that going so it makes your life easier?
So through the chair, we do have a capital project that we're working on for technology for finance. I'll give you just a quick overview here. We have identified, and Ms. Krulik can correct me if I'm wrong, over 173 opportunities for improvement. The team has taken that away, come up with their top list of what they think needs to be improved, and now we're at the point of assessing what kind of back-end structural foundational changes do we need to enable those improvements to go forward, and so that's where we are today.
Okay, 1 year out, 6 months out?
I'd say closer to 1 year out, Ms. Krulik.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Mr. May, just while I'm thinking about this, the concept that Councillor Bezo brought up, is there really an alternative?
I'm sorry, an alternative to?
This delay, starting in June, and I were talking about it now, there's no real alternative.
Through the chair, yes and no. There's a lot of people involved in gathering this information together, understanding what the information means, providing an explanation that will make sense to yourselves and the general public. And the review that goes into that just necessitates that there's at least a 6 to 8 week timeline to get all of that together and bring it forward in one package. So there's a lot of work to do in there. And yes, you can always look at shrinking the timeline, but we also have folks who are doing this as well as managing their business and filling potholes and those kinds of things. So
Yeah. No, it's just a general question, not a directive of any kind. Okay. Mr. Fallows has a follow-up question.
Okay, I think I have an easier question this time. Through the chair, I have just a couple of related questions, and this is just my own confusion. This is about Appendix A1 and the taxation revenues. And I was trying to connect some dots here that clearly don't completely connect. So I'm hoping for some guidance here. So it says our year-to-date actual taxation revenues are $372.7 million. The forecast is less than that at 370.9. And our audited financial statements under taxation revenues say last year we collected 362.2. So I had two questions. So one is, I thought that with a significant mill rate increase this year, I expected this year's taxation revenue to be greater. Like this only shows 2 or 3% greater than last year. So I must be missing something there. And then the second question is why the forecast for the year is less than the amount we've already collected at
Who
June
wants this?
30th.
Who wants to answer this one? Hands up. There we go. Go ahead, Ms. Carrick.
Sure. Through the chair, thanks for the question. I can answer the second part of your question about why the forecast is less than the actuals for the year. And the forecast includes a fairly significant provision for loss on assessment appeals still in 2026. The percentage increase between our audited financial statements and this, our actuals as of year to date, that I'd have to get back to you. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions on this administration report? Mr. Bezo, would you like to close?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. We'll close.
I'll ask the clerk to start the vote, and this time we're going to do it electronically. Is that right?
You bet.
Okay, high tech, here we go. Take a look at your microphone, and you'll have two choices, in favor or against.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now consider the next item, AFC 26-19, the 2026 second quarter general and utility capital forecast. Once again, I'll ask Jeff May, Acting CFO and Deputy City Manager, to please introduce the report. Go ahead, Jeff. I'll do that for you.
Thank you. Through the chair, this report represents the city's second quarter capital expenditure and forecast for both general capital and utility capital. As outlined in the report, forecasted total spending is $371.7 million out of available funds of $822.1 million. Administration regularly monitors the capital project's progress and looks for opportunities to return funds to source. Seasonal dependencies, changes to contracts or agreements through negotiations, and supply chain challenges are the main risk factors that contribute to delays of projects. When you go and look into the Appendix A and Appendix B, one of which is general capital, the other is utility capital, you'll see that the far right, there'll be a column coded either green, yellow, or red. That is our visual signal to say this project is on time, on budget, on scope, would be green. Yellow would mean that we have some concern that perhaps we're going to run into either time, project delay, or resource constraints. And red means that we have a concern with this project and are actively managing to figure out what to do, how to address the issue. I can say that by having reviewed the appendices, that their vast majority are in green, there are a few in yellow, and very few in red. All projects are fully funded except for two projects which have been noted in prior quarterly reports. Regina Exhibition Association Limited Food and Beverage Services capital project and the Pacers Baseball Park relocation project. Those projects were overspent, and administration is looking for avenues and ways in which to close off those projects and deal with the overspend. Myself and Ms. Carrick are here to answer any questions you may have about the report.
Thank you very much. Who would like to move the report? Not all at once. Mr. Mayor, go ahead. Would you like to say something ahead of time? Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, just on the Pacer Park line, maybe just explanation on the, it shows, yeah, maybe if you just walk through, because it doesn't show, kind of expenses budget and that. It's just kind of a big red $2.4 million. So I wonder if you could just walk us through what that line looks, why it looks a little different than many of the others.
Yeah, through the chair, when the Regina bypass was constructed, its route went through some city-owned lands that were used as baseball diamonds that were operated by Pacers Baseball Inc. The city had an agreement with Pacers that if they were to be relocated, that the city would reproduce that baseball park. And so that that park is now located near the new Costco along Tower Road. That project was completed more than 5 years ago. And as it went along, at the end of the day, as the project was completed, we ended up in a place where we were $2.4 million overspent. My understanding was that there was discussions with the province at the time to fund at least part of this project as it was due to the bypass. However, those discussions have been had, and the province did make contributions to the Pacers Park project, and they've contributed what they're going to contribute. So now this balance left over is something that the city must deal with.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. Through the chair, just one other item I think is pertinent to highlight. Line 184, Regina Exhibition Association Limited, Everaz Food and Beverage Services. Can you maybe just, there's a $4 million tag there. Can you maybe walk us through that one a little bit?
Sure. Through the chair, when the stadium was constructed, there was about $5 million in the stadium's budget for food and beverage equipment. At the time, the model that was decided for the stadium was that Real's opportunity, right, Regina Exhibition Association Limited's opportunity to make money at the stadium was through food and beverage services. They operate the stadium on our behalf, and we pay them on a cost recovery basis for doing things like getting set up for the Rider games, for cleaning the restrooms, for cleaning up after Rider games, taking care of the building systems. Food and beverage was where they were to make their money. And so at that point in time, Real asked for more influence on the design of the kitchen spaces and the vendor kitchen spaces on the stadium, as that was going to be their way to and make some money from the stadium. So they took that away, and the total project cost ended up to be about $20 million. But at the end of the day, the Real board capped their investment in these assets at $16 million thereabouts, leaving us with a $4 million overspend that we're now in dispute. We've been various negotiations have taken place over time between the city and Real, and I think we're at the place now where we'll just have to find a way to deal with this ourselves.
And so, and through the chair, just with the ongoing negotiations, how would that be impacted by the current negotiations if things were to move over to Brant?
So through the chair, just to make sure that my previous explanation was clear, basically the scope of the project changed and at the request of Real. And so the city feels that it would be Real's responsibility to pay for this. So we have a receivable from them on our books, which is basically what you see here. Now, once the Brant deal goes through, Real as a corporate entity will still exist. It will still have items on its balance sheet. It will still have payables on its balance sheet, and this will be one of them. So the way that this will ultimately get dealt with is at some point, the city will have to decide what it does with Real as a corporate entity, if it wants to continue it or not. But I imagine that we will end up writing off the payable in Real's books and then writing off the receivable in our books.
Great. And no, and that's what I was trying to get to, because I think it's important to highlight that if the deal goes through, there's a approximately $6.5 million subsidy that we pay to Real on an ongoing basis right now, and over the course of 2 years that goes to zero. And so I think that's important to note, that there's a $4 million receivable in addition to that we have with Real. And so I just want to make sure we see it. I think we all can see a path forward where we're not paying Real that subsidy anymore to take care of this. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you very much, Mr. May and team.
Yeah, great question. Good for bringing that up. Who is next? Aha. Before I introduce our next speaker, I want to tell everybody he's new to the team, and this is his very first question and his very first meeting. Mr. Carson, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair. My question is relatively small potatoes, but I'm just curious. It relates to the transfer to Customer Relations Management CRM Solution Capital account. The city ended up paying an additional $114,000 to as is in the report, to rectify a problem that was created by the software vendor that eliminated key integration functionality from their solution. My question is two-part. Number one, was this key functionality specifically identified in the original contract with the software vendor? And number two is, was there any type of performance holdback language in the agreement to address this sort of thing?
Who would like that? Mr. May.
I'll start. So the $114,000 issue that the Mr. Carson is referring to is actually subject of the previous report. where there is a recommendation that council approve a transfer of $114,000 worth of operating money to capital to pay for this issue that came up through the CRM project. So I just wanted to bring that up, note that. But to answer the question, yes, the requirement for this functionality was built into the contract. However, we found ourselves in a place where the vendor was no longer going to be able to provide it, so we had to scramble to come up with a workaround. And if you need further information about the particulars of it, we had Ms. Tink, Carol Tink, our Director of Technology, here to answer that question. However, she's left the meeting. But we can follow up if we need.
Mr. Carson, anything else to add?
No, that's good, thank you.
Okay. Up next, Councillor Bezo, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Back to table 4 with Real and Pacer Park. Why can't we just write this off as bad debt and move forward versus talking about it and asking Real for money? It's going nowhere. Real's going to be hopefully solidified, and then we're just going to keep, I'm going to say, essentially bad debt on the books, just to say that we have debt, but it's already paid for, but we got a line item that we're trying to pay off. Why can't we just write this thing off as bad debt, and then the money that's coming in from Real, or saved, I'm going to say, from Real, it just gets not allocated? Because right now all we're doing is we're shuffling around numbers on Excel spreadsheets again.
Through the chair, I would agree. And I believe we will come up with a solution, hopefully by the end of the year, to deal with both of these issues, so we don't have to keep dragging it on.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion here. And this has to do with this specific piece, so let's make sure it's captured. So my motion is specifically to look at all possibilities to write off the $6.53 million as bad debt and to come up with a solution prior to the next finalization of the budget
And
for 2027.
how do you come up with the 6.5? This is line item 184.
Table number 4, essentially.
Say again?
It's table number 4 on page 6.
Line 6.
AFC 26-19. It is Real is 4.091. Pacer Park reallocations 2.439 million for a total of $6.530 million of bad debt.
Yeah. Adding the two reds together.
Adding the two reds
Mr.
together.
Mr. May, go ahead.
So through the chair, before we get too far into language for a motion, I just want to ask for clarification and maybe provide some clarification. Understand why you're referring to it as bad debt. It is
It's bad debt.
but it's the accounting is slightly different for that. So what the team and I are looking to do in the next couple, before year end, is to figure out what is the best accounting treatment for this, so that we don't keep carrying this forward in our capital forecast like you see right now. So rather than perhaps move a motion today, I would rather come back to you with the Q3 capital report and have talked to you at that time about the solutions that we've come up with to deal with these two outstanding amounts.
Okay. My only concern with that is we're going into a capital budget season again, coming up in soon before the projects, or when it's getting presented. Q3 is going to be in 2027, where we're going to set the 2027 budget. The O&M and
Through the chair, this wouldn't necessarily have an effect on our 2027 budgeting. We were looking for ways and what the proper accounting treatment of clearing these off our books means for December 31st, 2026.
okay. So we can get rid of it.
We're looking for ways want to make sure that we have the correct approach to dealing with these two issues.
Control A, delete.
Finance 101.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I've asked Councillor Siklis to just open up his money bags, but he's
Yeah.
refused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
right here.
as long as it's getting looked at and we can write this thing off and we have no negative impact. Now, I fully recognize the budget. We got two portions of the budget. We got the operational budget, repair, OG&M and R&M budget, and then we got the CapEx budget. But this is a negative issue on our CapEx budget, is what this is. This is really bad for budgeting if we're carrying negatives, but we already assumed the debt. We're already paid the thing off. It's just how we erase the red.
That's
But
correct.
there's no red technically there.
Through the chair, the money's been spent.
Yeah.
The other side of this entry to balance this off, we just need to figure out what that looks like and how to bring it over. That's all.
Councillor Cleese has a wallet full of moths, he said.
Guys are hard on me today.
So we'll bring an update for you with the next capital variance report.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're pretty confident we'll get this settled before the calendar year is
Like,
done?
as I said, this is really an accounting exercise, and we just want to understand it.
Okay, good. Are you satisfied with that?
Yeah, as
Counselor?
long as we get this written off and we get it off the books, it's the project's done, the work is done.
Yeah.
The deep fryers are being used.
Yeah.
It's already paid for, but we're just carrying red for the sake of carrying red.
Yep.
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Okay. Good. Seeing no further questions, I will take this back to Mayor Baczynski to close.
No further questions. Thanks everybody for this one.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
How did that not go on? Through the chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We are halfway through our agenda. I will now ask us to consider item AFC 26-20, which is the 2025, is that correct? 2025 annual debt report? Is that a misprint? It's 2025. I will ask Jeff May to please introduce the report. Go ahead.
Through the chair, thank you. The 2025 annual debt report is a requirement of the City of Regina's debt management policy and provides details on current and forecasted debt, as well as information on the debt limit and debt management ratios. The city's total consolidated debt on December 31st, 2025 is $538.3 million, which is an increase of $95.2 million from the end of 2024. The additional debt acquired in 2025 was for the water network expansion project and the unfunded servicing agreement fee projects. In 2025, all debt management ratios fell within targets outlined in the policy, which you will see in Appendix A of the report. In terms of forecasts, you will see on page 5 of the report in Table 3 that the city's debt limit, as approved by the Saskatchewan Municipal Board, is $890 million. Our debt outstanding as of December 31st, 2025 was $538.32 million, which meant that at December 31st, 2025, we had debt capacity available of $351.68. Looking into the future a little bit, you can see that in 2026, the city is forecasting, and we have indeed taken out $155 million worth of debt, which will be used to fund the construction of the indoor aquatic facility. In 2027, we are forecasting to take another $60 million in debt to pay for to help fund the Northwest Regional Lift Station. In 2028, we are forecasting another $120 million worth of debt to help fund the wastewater treatment plant project. As a result of all of those, you will see that by 2028, we are forecasting to have debt room available of $15.76 million. Now, this will increase over time, as you can see in the forecast, that as we pay down debt, the amount of available debt room to us will grow. However, you can see that we have a bit of a bottleneck in 2028. And so that we need our debt capacity in the future years needs to be allocated strategically to ensure that it's being used to its greatest benefit. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions you might have about the report.
May I have a mover for the report? Councillor Bezo, would you like to speak to it?
I will have some comments at the end. Up front, this is the stuff that keeps me awake at night.
Yeah.
These are all project related. They're all growth related. But keep on this path, we will be unsustainable. So we'll let everyone have a comment. I'll move the report right now, and then Mr. May can have some Q&As.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. First up with a question is Mayor Baczynski. Please go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I'm too quick on the button, apparently. Thanks through the chair. I think I'd asked you about this before, Mr. May, but it might be good to touch on it. So for the South Trunk project, we talked a little bit about the $29 million that was announced for Regina from the federal government. I think that when we had talked, I think that was around debt that was used for that project. Can you maybe speak to, does that hit anywhere in here that we would see? Is that a benefit? Is that reflective in here, or will it be reflective in here? Just to paint a picture of where that money kind of ends up landing.
So thank you through the chair. That's debt that we've already taken out. It'd be part of the December 31st, 2025 balance. Now that we have this additional funding, we don't need to use that debt for those projects. We have had internal discussions, and we will use it to fund a couple other phases of the South Trunk, and the final piece was going to the lift station?
The Northwest Regional.
And the final piece will go to help fund the Northwest Regional Lift Station as well. So what it means is that the debt limit, the debt room that you see available in this forecast is still the same. It's just that we are able, because of this grant funding, able to reallocate that existing debt to these other projects.
Okay, perfect. So projects that otherwise would have to be delayed or not be completed. So
Correct.
Again, my narrative of continuing to try and catch up on our infrastructure deficit, that's where these grants can help us get out of this debt situation. So I just want to make sure residents are clear that the reason it may not hit our mill rate is, and I think this is where, my colleague, Councillor Bezo alludes to, is, we do have a debt to get out of before we're in the position to be funding projects out of cash for sure. So thanks for that explanation, and we'll obviously look to see if we can get more grants to take care of some more debt, hopefully, to help us on this path. Thanks so much.
Good question. Mr. Ang, you have the floor now.
Thank you so much. Through the chair, is there a recommendation so that we can ask admin to give to us, AFC, that potentially 3 options where we could dedicate a percentage of the budget to pay off the debt? Whether it be 0, do nothing, 1%, or maybe as high as 3%. And that way we can take a look at it and give our perspective and recommendations to executive.
So through the chair, and I might have to ask our representative from the clerk's office for help on this, but I think what this committee could do, the committee can't direct administration to do work, but you could send a recommendation to council to have administration do this work, and then council could then direct administration to prepare a report for a future AFC committee meeting about options to pay down the debt more quickly.
Okay,
Thank you so much for the clarity.
go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. The motion on the floor right now is just that council receive and file. So if the mover would withdraw that motion, you could put forward an alternate motion, but Mr. May is correct in that the Audit and Finance Committee would have to recommend something to City Council for consideration.
Okay, then I'll have to ask Councillor Bezo to make that change. Is that correct? Yeah. Hold on. Yep. Gotcha.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've no problems withdrawing right now, and then we'll see what the motion looks like.
She's going to put it on the screen for us to take a look at. And of course, looking for input from everybody on this one. So 3 options, 10 options, 1 option, whatever you think is manageable.
Just for clarity, so currently we're just paying our the minimum P&I, and this is just an additional dedicated percentage of the budget for on top of the principal debt.
Through the chair, yes. Currently, we are making the scheduled principal and interest payments on the debt as we've negotiated with our lending institutions. My understanding of what the committee member is asking is for options to go over and above that.
Yep. Through the chair, does our lending partner allow us to pay additional percentage towards the principal or not? For example, like for my house, I could pay on top of my mortgage and towards the principal.
So through the chair, that will be part of the information that we bring back to you. If it turns out that we can't, then that'll be part of the information brought back. As an example, we have at least one the bullet bond debenture where the principal payment isn't made for 30 years. We're just paying interest right now. I don't have at my fingertips the details of that agreement. It could say that, no, you can't make early principal paybacks. So we will investigate that. If this motion goes forward, that's part of the information that we would bring back to the committee.
I would add a little bit to that.
Thank you, Mr. Eng, for that thoughtful motion. And Mr. Fallows, you'd like to add something? I'll get your mic for you.
Thank you. Through the chair, yeah, just a little bit of color regarding Mr. Eng's last question. From my past experience, I can tell you a couple things about that. First of all, the bullet bond will not allow for a prepayment. The reason for that is because the bullet bond will have been distributed to a number of investors. You know, I could hold some in my RRSP. I don't, but I could. Like, there's no way to know who all the investors are. The dealers don't know who all the investors are. There's no way to force them to sell. But the good news, I guess, is that the way that a government would deal with something like that is they would make a larger sinking fund contribution. Mm-hmm. So you would set more money aside, put that money to work, earning income, and that you could achieve the same effect that way. So this was an issue that a real issue that was faced by the province in about 2008, 2009. At the height of the oil boom, there was a tremendous amount of revenue coming into the province. Nothing like it has come in before or since. And they had that conversation about trying to repurchase perhaps up to, I don't know, $2 or $3 billion. It was a fantastical number. And they went through that analysis and came to that conclusion. They can't actually buy that debt in the market. And if you did, even if you did try to do that, you would push up the price of that debt, right? I mean, an investor would say, oh, you're in the market for this, right? So it just isn't a good use of taxpayer dollars. So what they did was they set aside money in their sinking fund against their next loans coming due, right? And then as those loans came due, they had the payment in the bank. So that would be how you would go about doing that. I just trying to save you some research time there. That's.
Thank you, Mr. Fallows. Pardon? Oh, yeah. You go ahead. Your mic's on.
Through the chair, I just got a Teams message from our staff.
Oh, okay.
So the debt we have are debentures, so we can't pay them down earlier, much for the same reasons that Mr. Fallows just said. So Adding more to the sinking fund can work, but unless the Sask Municipal Board allows us to take the balance in the sinking fund and say, and count that as a positive against our debt room, it doesn't do us any good. And we've asked that question, and they've said, thank you for the question, we'll get back to you. So which is to say that, you know, we will get a response and find out if that is an option for the future. So, given that, this motion probably isn't necessary.
Mr. Mayor, you had your light on. Would you like to speak to this? Are you done, Mr. Fellows?
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
This particular issue, yes.
I'll come back to you after.
I'll maybe let Mr. Ng go first if he wants to, because I just wanted to see if he has a response to Mr. May.
Oh, sure.
Just seeing if it's still, if he's got the information he needs, or if he's still going forward before I ask questions.
Sure. Go ahead, Jamie.
In light of this new information, if that's the case, I guess this new motion would be moot.
Through the chair, that would be correct, yes.
So you're going to do the asking anyway, and we don't need a motion for it.
Through the chair, there's the information to bring back to the committee is that we cannot pay this debt off early.
All right. You tried, Mr. Ng. Made your points for trying.
Yeah.
Yes. You want him to say that verbally? You'll have to withdraw the motion, Mr. Ng. I'll get your microphone for you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll withdraw the motion.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Through the chair, and just to triple clarify, I think I heard that, but we do have an ask into the Sask Municipal Board to get clarity on how different arrangements would impact our debt limit. Is that right?
Through the chair, we asked the specific question of the Sask Municipal Board. If we have money set aside, which we are doing right now, to pay off these bullet bonds, these debentures where the principal is paid off 30 years, we are collecting money over time to make those payments. We have asked if we can take, so we will be showing $100 million debt for the next balance outstanding for the next 30 years. But all the while, we are growing a pool of money to pay that off. What we would like to be able to do is net those two things, the debt outstanding with the money we've saved to pay off the debt. And we've asked that question, and they said that they will get back to us with an answer.
Perfect. That's exactly the information I was looking for. Do you know when we asked? Like how long it's been, I guess?
It was within the last couple of months, and we recently received a letter saying, thank you for your question, we'll get back to you. So It was within sometime between end of, I would say, since I've taken on the acting role, which would be about May of this year.
Okay. I don't know if this is maybe a question for Janice.
I'm told it was March 2026 is when we got the response.
Okay. It's been a minute. I guess maybe for Janice and the chair, is there, administration is doing their work to try and get a response. Is there an opportunity for this Audit and Finance Committee to craft a message to the SMB to kind of reinforce the ask from administration looking for this information? Because I think it's important information, and I think as time goes by, we're trying to make decisions on budget and debt. I think it would be prudent. I mean, I'm happy to send something on for my office, but just given that it's a fulsome discussion with both council members and citizen members, I maybe just look for some guidance to see what you've seen maybe historically with this committee.
We won't need a motion for it, but we can probably put something together. Yeah, I think we can do that.
Okay.
That's a good idea. Thank you for that.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you guys, and I just want to make sure that we're supporting the team and getting the answers we need. So thank you guys, and thanks Jamie for bringing that up. That was good.
Up next is Councillor Bezo.
Perfect. I think we're completely off topic and off script right now from what we're supposed to be. We have to reintroduce the motion. I do have some questions pertaining to utilizing our debt to make money, but I'm not sure if this is the venue to ask. But I'm going to ask this anyway. We're off script anyway. We are in the process of upgrading our infrastructure, our wastewater, our lift stations. We've assumed debt to do it. We got some federal government grants to help us with this infrastructure. We also have communities around us and on RM that's looking at doing expansions of their own. Is there a way that we could leverage our infrastructure and our debt to bring them into our umbrella and to have a connection and a service fee for their communities, or say Assured, RM Assured with their wastewater, what they want to do up at the industrial park to tie into ours at their costs, utilize our system, collect a revenue stream, which would then go towards the extra sink fund? Very roundabout question.
Mr. May, is
A
that
lot of moving
something,
parts.
is that something you want to take on right now?
I'm kind of thinking like a Netflix subscription to use our stuff. You know what I mean?
Through the chair, very complicated question, and I have to admit I don't have the answer to that today. It's a scenario that we could contemplate, and but there would have to be a desire and a willingness from the surrounding RMs to enter into an agreement like that.
Okay.
It sounds like a Greater Regina Economic Area
It
team.
kind of sounds like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's, where we're going to be in a situation where we're producing, we have a city that's growing. They have communities that are growing. They're going to need the same stuff that we're going to need. Work together, one debt, whoever it would be, and a subscription base to getting it done. But I think we need to go back on track. Do we need to introduce this motion again?
Mr. Bezo, you want to confirm that you're still moving concurrence with the motion?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Mr. Follows, do you have something on the motion on the floor? Or
Yeah, we'll get to him, but you have to
you
do
know,
that first.
I go to him first, and I'll move it back in again.
Musical chairs here. Mr. Fallows, go ahead.
I just had a quick comment to some of Councillor Bezo's comments. I can respond to half of it in terms of the financing side, like getting together with local communities. It would be the financing side would be very close to what's already offered by the province through its municipal financing corporation. The asset side, getting together on assets and building, that's a totally different thing. And that's a valid question. But on the financing side, I think that infrastructure is kind of already there. That was my comment.
Okay.
Thank you for that, and I think Mayor Buczynski can add a little color to this conversation. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, through the chair, and thanks, Councillor Bezo. I think what I'll highlight that it's probably timely. I'm working to get another get together for the surrounding arms with our council and their councils. So I think it would be a great opportunity for us to kick off some of those conversations to see if there's interest, and then obviously bring that back. I think that's the first thing that probably admin would it'd be helpful if we can get some commonality there, and then maybe see if these folks can get into the details. But yeah, thanks for that, and I think there'll be an opportunity to come up here. So I'll make sure that we're all, as a council, informed and included in that.
Thank you. So, Councillor Bezo.
Okay, now we'll go back into concurrence to reintroduce the report, I guess, to make sure we're back on track.
AFC 26-20.
Yeah, I'll move the report.
Thank you very much. We have a question from Mr. Fallows. Go ahead.
Just a couple more points building on some of the discussion about the municipal board and the letter that we have into the municipal. I'm really glad that that letter is in there, and they really need to have that letter. And I like the idea of the AFC maybe adding some extra encouragement. And the reason for that, there's two reasons for that. And one is that it does make sense that they would take sinking funds into consideration. So, and I can tell you that credit rating agencies absolutely do it, for sure. So if a credit rating agency has a client that has $1,000 of debt, and they have another client that has $1,000 of debt and $900 in the bank, that client has $100 of debt, right? But the municipal board is just saying, nope, those two are the same. They both have $1,000 of debt. We don't care what they have in the bank. And it's a very fair question to ask, like, does that really make a lot of sense? So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is, my understanding is I would be very surprised if the municipal board may not have had to deal with that question before. And the reason they may not have is, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that Regina might have the only bullet bond in Saskatchewan. I don't think Saskatoon has any bullet bonds, and I'm almost certain no other community does. So what that means is that they may not have had this question from other people before. So the reason why the rules are so unfavorable, it might just be they've just never thought about it before. So I'm glad that we have that in there. That's good on you. And I think there's value in the AFC pushing that issue a little bit. Like it just makes good sense that, yeah, if you've got money set aside to pay down a debt, well, then that counts, right? That comes off your debt limit. But
Yeah, excellent points. Mr. May, anything to respond to that? Nope. Okay. And up next is Mr. Ng.
Thank you. Through the chair. Just on table 3 on page 5, the debt that's going to be accrued for the Regina Exhibition Association Limited. In 2025, the actual is 8.42, and now it's estimated to be 21 million. How do we reach that 21 mil?
Mr. May?
Through the chair, I'll start, and then Ms. Carrick or Ms. Grula can add. So you're right. The total debt outstanding for real right now is only 8.42 million. We aren't actually expecting it to go up. What this is the total amount of debt borrowing capacity of real. And so for the purposes of our forecast, we forecasted it to be at the maximum. We don't think it will be at the maximum going forward, especially once the Brent deal, should it go through, their real itself as a corporate entity will just go to sleep. So the forecast is being conservative on that aspect.
Would that line item be removed if the sale is complete to Brent and real is, as you said, put to sleep?
So through the chair, should the sale go through, it is our intention to then take the debt that real has outstanding in its name and on its books and get that out of real's books and into the city's books. So the overall debt picture won't change, but I don't think that the amount outstanding will be $21 million. It'll be closer to the 8.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you. Good question. Mr. Fallows.
Thank you. Through the chair, just a question about the Saskatchewan Municipal Board. This is kind of a curiosity question. Do we know how they go about doing their calculation for the debt limit? And I'll explain where I'm going with this. Like, I looked on their website, and all it says is a city's debt limit is determined by its own source revenue from the previous year. Well, that really doesn't say anything. But is it a case where the process is very transparent and we can kind of calculate it or estimate it and then they confirm it? Or is it we put an application in and we're kind of going in blind and they give us a yes or a no?
Through the chair.
Yeah, how transparent is the process, I guess is the question.
So through the chair, in 2025, my predecessor and his team did apply for a debt limit increase with the Sask Municipal Board. So I wasn't directly part of those conversations, but in terms of the visibility of how SMB makes its determination, it's what you see on the website. That was the discussion that they had with us at the time. So we've asked, as part of that conversation, it is my understanding that our team asked the Sask Municipal Board to reconsider how they evaluate city's ability to repay debt. Whether or not that goes forward, we don't know.
Okay, through the chair, that's really good, and that was the answer I expected. And I was thinking that if the AFC was going to send a letter raising the issue of the sinking fund, I would think it would be very appropriate to also ask them a little bit about if they could disclose a bit more about their process. Like, it really should be transparent. Like, the council sits here trying to make decisions about the future and not really knowing exactly what the formula is for a debt limit. Like, it shouldn't be a secret. It shouldn't be like a papal enclave where we make an application and wait to see if white smoke comes out of the building and then we know something's happened. Like, it should be very clear. Like, to me, it should be like doing your tax return. You should be, if it's based on your additional year's revenue, you should be able to calculate it. I'm sure that's all they're doing. They should tell people more about what they're doing. They should be more transparent, and I think that would be a good thing to ask them too. But anyways, I'm grumpy about them, that's all.
So
That's my comment.
So through the chair, I would say that I don't want to speak for the Sask Municipal Board. They may well be doing work as we speak about revising how they evaluate a city's ability to repay. I don't want to give the impression that we were told that, no, they're not going to look at those things. We don't know what they're doing right now, and they may well have work underway. In terms of your question about, is that something that could be added to this committee's letter to the board about the sinking fund and this? Certainly, it might help spur that process along.
Thank you, Mr. May, and Mr. Fellows, thank you. I've never seen you more agitated, and I love it. I have a procedural matter to talk about briefly, and yes, Mr. Mayor saying sorry already. It's just quickly procedure. In order for us to write that letter, we should make a motion to ask council to do that. So what that means is we're going to pull it off again. Mr. Bezo?
Let's pull it off.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good thing we got a guy on the council or the committee that's a red tape reduction, hey?
Yeah.
Shake your head at this.
How are we doing? Is that what you need?
That's really rough, so.
I think the letter's going to come from the Audit and Finance Committee. The mayor can probably send the letter without needing a motion from us. So.
That's the process, the advice I was advised.
The advice is from me, that I can, I don't think a motion for me to send it. I can, oh, sorry, thank you, through the chair. Yeah, if the advice is to send it through my office, what I can just say, I would say probably don't need a motion unless it's recommended, but I can send it, and what I would do is indicate, I know Thomas is here, so thanks, Thomas. I would just indicate that as a result of discussions through our last Audit and Finance Committee, and we can reference this meeting, but I would obviously take your advice, Janice, if you feel that there's something procedurally that needs to happen. But I'm also happy to just take this on based on the discussion today, on the public discussion today.
She's just checking now.
Sure.
And thank you very much to the acting city clerk, who's putting in the midnight oil yet again, helping us from a distance in the cloud around us.
I just thought it would be good to have Mr. Carson participate in some procedural gymnastics on his first go around.
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
I think he's already writing his next book.
Not quite yet, but
Sorry for the hold up, Mr. Chair. I've just been advised that it should be sent from the mayor, so I'm just waiting on some clarification in that regard. But in the meantime, if you have any clarification on the motion, we can update that just to capture the intent of the committee.
Sure, and maybe I'll just go to Mr. May. Like, my intention is to just reinforce what administration has sent to the Sask Municipal Board. So, is there any specific wording that we should reference or that I should reference? And I can ask. I'll start with Mr. May, and then I look like Mr. Fallows maybe has a follow up.
So through the chair, I'll defer to the clerk's office, but is it, for clarity, is it necessary to make a motion to direct the mayor to write this letter?
No, I think we're just buying time right now to to be fair, just to make sure that we clarify that. I don't think it is. I just want to make sure that procedurally right. But I think either way, I'd like your context if I take this away and then make sure I reference the Audit and Finance Committee, but ultimately sending it to support the request.
So thank you for that clarity. So I think the first question would be, would the Saskatchewan Municipal Board consider the amount netting the debt outstanding against the sinking fund that has been accrued to pay for that debt when considering where the city is at against its debt limit? Number two, I think, was more along the lines of what is the Saskatchewan Municipal Board's process for evaluating a city's ability to take on debt and establishing that limit.
Perfect.
And Mr. Fallows, is that what you wanted to add, or is there more?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I wanted to add. In terms of the motion, I think it would be helpful to say municipal board respecting offsetting sinking fund balances against outstanding debt with respect to the debt limit.
Sorry, Mr. Fallows.
So yeah, offsetting sinking fund balances with respect to the debt limit. And the second part was exactly what Mr. May said about, and he said it more eloquently than I will, about
You might want to
providing additional
A and a B.
providing, yeah, it's an A and a B. Would you like to have another go about providing additional clarity regarding their process for establishing a debt limit? Something like.
Yeah, I'd have to go back to the video too. to get exactly what it was.
Rewind the video.
And provide information regarding how the Saskatchewan Municipal Board evaluates the city's ability to service debt
Sure. Good.
when setting its debt limit.
Show us your damn algorithm.
Well,
Is that what we were looking
basically.
for? I mean, yeah, be transparent. This is a spicy meeting. I like it. That's good stuff. We still have one more to go after this.
I might suggest, Mr. Chair, that if that the committee can vote on this motion, and if there's any tweaking required, that can be done via an amendment at council.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
So I haven't received a response.
Any other comments on this before we vote on it? Okay, I'll ask the clerk to start the vote.
Oops. Joan, would you mind voting on the motion? That's okay. Through the chair, the motion carries unanimously.
Very good, thank you. Anything else to discuss on AFC 26-20? Yeah. Mr. Bezo,
I would like to.
No, that was the final vote, Mr. Chair.
doesn't he get to close though? He opened it, right? It's time for him to close?
Sorry, that should have been the motion, because that was the motion on the floor, was that?
Well, glory be, we are done with that item. That's 3 out of 4. We're now on the last one.
Oh, we closed. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, so here we go. AFC 26-21 Materials Yard Granular Inventory Audit. I will ask Dinakar Vishwanathan, our City Internal Auditor, to please introduce the report. Dina, go ahead.
Good evening, members of the committee. This report provides the Audit and Finance Committee with the results of the Materials Yard Granular Inventory Audit. The primary audit objective was to assess the adequacy and effectiveness of granular inventory management controls, including the existence of supporting policies, procedures, and guidelines. This audit was performed by our team member, Mr. Asan Siddiq. The audit concluded the control environment for granular inventory management is generally established and operating. However, improvements are required to enhance the accuracy, reliability, and accountability of inventory information. Strengthening inventory controls, access management, governance processes, and data oversight will reduce operational and financial reporting risks and support more effective inventory management. Key improvement opportunities and exceptions identified include weaknesses in inventory count and reconciliation processes, limitations in the use of inventory reporting tools, and the absence of a formal process to account for a certain landfill inventory. Improvements in these areas would enhance inventory accuracy, support financial reporting, and reduce the need for significant year-end adjustments. Administration has accepted all the recommendations and has already begun correcting and/or implementing controls that address many of the audit recommendations. This report is a receive and file. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. May I have someone by the name of Carson move the report?
Through the chair, I move the report.
Excellent. You get a chance to speak up front about it if you'd like.
I would like to, yes.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. First, I'd like to apologize to the AFC for standing between them and this report and their supper, but that's life. I have my background. Some of you are aware of, some of you not, but it is in audit. The audit report states there are no financial, legal, policy impacts respecting this report. Appears to be a standard insert into most reports. However, I believe this statement to be misleading. To me, the content of the audit report raises questions about efficient inventory management of a high-value asset, long-term internal control deficiencies, and potential legal exposure for the possible misuse of granular material. Now, to put it in context, I didn't get a lot of time to run through the everything else, so I apologize for not contributing elsewhere. But I did look into this, given my audit background. Per the report, the budget, the managed granular inventory budget with year-end valuation of $6.1 million is in the report. Also stated was production amounted to 7.31 million, including net inventory issuances totaling 4.01 million. So I briefly looked at some other reports that I know exist on road stock materials, and there's two things that pop out. Number one, we're talking about a high value asset. Aside from buildings, road construction materials are probably the second highest valued inventoried asset that the city maintains. And also, the road materials, 72% of that is granular material. Now, I spoke to a couple of companies that I know, and I asked specifically about turnover ratio. If you're not familiar with turnover ratio, it's the time the existing inventory turns over in a year. Now, for commonly used materials, 3 to 4 times a year their inventory turns over. That's at 90 to 120 days. Worst case scenario for specialty materials, a year. It turns over once a year. So being conservative, I kind of looked at the worst case scenario. And if you do a little bit of math, it looks to me like in real dollars, there's $3 million that has been spent on granular materials, that there appears to be a high probability that these materials are not going to be consumed in the upcoming fiscal year. Cost avoidance of $3 million to me, I think, meets the definition of a significant financial impact. Now, my question would be this: why would the report not highlight such a variance when the city is emphasizing cost avoidance as an option when considering future budgets?
Thank you for that. I'm looking at the clock, and I believe that we have to take a small break after 90 minutes, and we haven't done that. So not to take away from the drama that's about to unfold, possibly, can we take a 10-minute break now, a little 10-minute bio break? Would that be okay with everybody? Is that all right? Yeah, nodding, nothing, zero from over there. We have to take it anyway, right? Okay. Yeah, let's take a quick 10-minute break. Thanks, everyone. Okay, let's get the meeting back to order. Now, I'll turn on Mr. Carson's mic. You had completed your statement.
Yeah.
Did you want to add to it before I ask for a,
I have follow-up questions, but that will do for the time being.
okay, and who'd like to take that one on? Go ahead, Dina.
Through the chair, thank you so much for the questions. I'll answer the question in two parts. The first one relating to why the financial risks or legal risks were not mentioned in the cover sheet of the report. So my understanding of that particular piece is that, you know, it explains the risk of the report. Whenever we are making a recommendation or seeking approval from council, we have to highlight the risk from adopting that particular action cited in the report. The audit report by itself is a factual statement of what we see, and those risks already exist, immaterial of whether or not we present the report. So the risk is already inherent in the process. So that is the reason why we don't specifically highlight that as part of presenting our report. Secondly, thank you so much for the highlighting the turnover ratios and also highlighting the production efficiency part of it. So normally in inventory management, whenever there is a production plan, it is tuned to meet a particular demand. When we are trying to understand the issue ratios as well as try to understand the reason behind the production levels, we also have to do an analysis of the demand levels. Why they are making the production? Why does the production justify the amount of issuances we are making? Whether it matches the demand? Where do these factors come in? Is there a standard limit of production that we have to? Some places they need to have a standardized limit for running the production. Producing lesser than those levels might actually make them incur more cost, but it requires specific analysis to that extent. This particular report, the main objective was around control management. Whether we are receiving material, whether we are issuing material, is there any control to ensure that the material is not being misappropriated and whether they are being accounted properly. So when we are doing an audit that is more specific to control management around the receipt, issue and stock holding process, this kind of becomes a scope creep. Though we are definitely interested in efficiencies and we would like to indulge more in doing audits of efficiency, whether the production matches the demand, whether we are producing more than what is necessary, but that will venture into a different direction of audit, which is currently not covered by this report. Thank you.
Through the chair, follow-up question. And it touches on the comment you just made, Dina, concerning internal control deficiencies. There is great content in the report surrounding the existence of a great amount of material not even being counted in inventory. The landfill location I'm referring to, and the existence of a reconciliation sub count, the WAM storeroom value report, that is not currently being used for variance analysis and contains data integrity issues, including negative balances and missing inventory. Now, taken together, these statements identify a potential for another $1.2 million in additional cost avoidance had proper inventory levels for landfill inventory been maintained. Of greater significance, though, than the cost avoidance, to me anyway, are the long-term internal control deficiencies. While I have a hard time believing the size of the reported variance of 7.6 billion, I hope that's a misspell, but if it isn't, for only one asset, given the size of the overall budget for the city of Regina is about what, a billion or more? My focus is on the phrase since the inception of WHAM and the word cumulative. Obviously, the enormous variance did not accumulate in a single year. Obviously, from the report, landfill inventory emissions were never entered into the system. And the third comment is there's a complete lack of reconciliation processes for what I pointed out earlier was a high value asset. My question is, and thank you, Dina, for the presentation earlier. Well, I now understand that internal audit function has recently been reborn and is moving towards a period of standardized and stabilized reviews. My question is there any current standard of performance measures regarding responsibility to have had these issues addressed? Obviously, there's been a fairly rampant lack of attention in this area. Could you comment on that, please?
Through the chair, thank you so much for this question. This question has answers from my side as well as administration. So I'll address those questions that I can answer from my side, and I'll then pass it over to administration. The first one regarding the more than $1 billion in differences, unfortunately, it is not a typo. We have huge variances. Just to explain a bit more behind those variances. So for every inventory count process, there is a physical count of inventory, and there is something known as a store ledger. That is the operationally maintained store ledger, which contains the details of inventory. And then there is a financial general ledger. So this WAM reflects actually the store ledger balances. These have never been corrected since the inception of WAM more than a decade prior. Manual adjustments for correction of negative balances, cumulative differences that have accumulated in that ledger without correction. This has led to that huge $7.6 billion figure. And so it is in a state where it currently cannot be used. That is why in the recommendation, we are prescribing that there should be a one-time cleanup of that ledger and then use it for reconciling with the financial statements. In its current, the reason why we put the amount there is because we wanted to know what is the amount of transactions, what is the gravity of all the amounts that are building up in the ledger, which makes it currently unusable. So after the one-time cleanup exercise is when we can actually compare to the financial ledger numbers. With respect to your comments on the reconciliation process, currently, I have to say, maybe I can pass to the administration, correct me if I'm wrong. Currently, the process is whatever numbers arises from the physical count, those are used as a basis for calculating the year-end numbers. Basically, any difference between the two records is simply adjusted without reconciliation. So there is no actual reconciliation in place at all. With respect to other processes, which can provide us some kind of a corroboration to ensure that there is no loss of inventory, I think that can happen only after we clean up the store ledger. Before that, that kind of exercise cannot be undertaken. The only kind of comfort we can take from is the nature of inventory that we are talking about has low value per unit but high volume. So if somebody were to want to misappropriate that inventory, they need to haul many trucks of load to carry something of considerable value. With respect to inventory count differences that you are seeing in this cited in this report, it is more a clerical a mistake. They have many lines of inventory which they count, and while updating the final numbers, they forgot to include a particular location that they counted, but they didn't include in their final list. Because of that, we had to adjust that amount in our financial books, but it was not a write-off or there was no loss of inventory. I will pass it over to the administration if they would like to comment on it further.
Who would like to comment further? Mr. May, please go ahead.
Through the chair, I can start, and then Ms. Krulik can add if she needs, wishes. Overall, we welcome the report and its findings. As Mr. Vinesh Washington said, there were a lack of understanding of how to use the WAM system, obviously, because as the report says, since its inception, that this, what is it called here? Sorry. The WAM storeroom report. And then over time, that just mounted on itself. We have, of course, annual processes that we go through by which to value the inventory at the end of the year, and that's where we have a snapshot taken in time, and we value the inventory and make adjustments in the general ledger versus we bought this much is remaining, this must be the cost. So this report does highlight a large number of opportunities for improvement in terms of managing the material and more accurately reflecting the ins and outs through inventory. And the administration has agreed with the recommendations from the internal auditor and is currently working on those solutions. Ms. Krulik, do you have anything more to add?
Through the chair, the only other thing that I would maybe add to this is we are going through a system upgrade with WAM/WAX, and some of these items will be considered as part of that project, which will be starting this fall. So hopefully that we can get some really good internal controls and reporting in place in our systems going forward.
Thank you. Up next with a question is Councillor Bezo. Councillor, go ahead.
Thank you very much. More of a comment and then a question for some of the aspects. So there's a large volume of, I'm going to call reclaimed concrete, reclaimed asphalt, with a fairly large number tagged to it. The question really comes down to why is that even counted in inventory at all? This is refuse product that has no retail value to the city unless someone buys it. This is just an overburden, if you want to call it that. But then we're having a report that says we have this high value associated with recycled concrete and recycled asphalt. The value is, if we use it internally, we save a cost from buying granular product, or we sell it. But there's actually no retentive value for it, except this scrap steel that comes out of the recycling process. So why would we consider that concrete as part of this and actually have the appearance that we have inventory controls issues on a pile of recycled asphalt and concrete?
Who wants that? Dina, please go ahead.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. The thing is, at the end of every year, this particular inventory is counted. They have special mechanisms to survey that area and arrive at the total amount of inventory there, and it has a saleable value. And that is how that amount is arrived at. The reason why we have not included this as part of our inventory balances, we'll never know. It has never been done for a very long time. Even though these amounts are arrived at, it has never formed part of our inventory. It has never been included as part of our inventory. But anything of value that is inside our premises, we have to recognize it as a matter of control. So if somebody were to, if some of the inventory were to be used, we need to have control of its existence in some sort of record, be it a financial record or part of our operational record. So it makes a bit of, from a controls perspective, it is good to record it somewhere, especially our financial systems.
Yeah, I think you missed the point of it. Like, I'm saying, we have this granular pile. Who cares about it unless we're selling it? And at that point, if you're selling it, you scale it, you weigh it, you scale it. So somebody's buying a truckload of it, you weigh it, and that's your value. Unless somebody's buying it, there is no value of $564 million in that pile. That value is zero, unless you buy it
Through the chair, you are right. There is a market for it, and we do sell it.
internally mostly.
Let me just quickly check that with my team. I'll just pass it over to my team member, Asan, just to confirm that we are selling that internally or externally.
Son, go ahead.
Yeah, so through your chair, I think in 2025, the audit period, for which almost 90% of the issuance is internal and only 10% issuance is through outside. So mostly the major business that we have with the granular inventory is the internal consumption for our roads constructions, roads related, water and sewer, and the all internal departments. Only 10% of the issuance is related to the outside issuances,
Yep.
which is based on the specific request, and we sell on those, and we have the recovery as well on those. So there is no loss to the outside customer. We try to have some realization out of those over and above the cost. Yeah.
So do we have, based upon that explanation, 90% is internal consumption, are we actually transferring line items from costing on a project, paying for this material somewhere? So if there's a value and we're saying it's got this value to it and we're using it internally, are we actually paying for the stuff internally and projects? Which I'm going to say we shouldn't be. Like it's just a material. Use it.
Through the chair, I do not have a clear answer for that at this point of time because we didn't go into the cost distribution, cost allocation part of it. We
Okay.
stopped with the inventory management. But I could definitely check and revert back on that answer for you.
Okay, sure. And the last one, I recognize the value of the survey of the pile, but there's very little indication of scaling and scale management, scale records, certified scales in this report. So if you are using granular material, you're usually scaling it in and scaling it out. But we don't have any indication of is the scale certified.
Through the chair, can you rephrase it in a different manner?
Yeah, for the volume, there's two methods of measuring volume. You can do kind of the survey method, and here's your volume. But once you start consuming that volume or bringing that volume in, so I'm going to use sand and gravel for an example for our winter road maintenance. We don't just go buy a pile of gravel. We are buying the ton of gravel from the pit. We get that ton of gravel delivered to our site, and we pay for it. But those trucks should be scaling in. So you weigh the truck when it comes in, weigh the truck when it's out to say, this is, if I am buying 3 tons of material, my scale says 3 tons, not 2.2 tons.
Through the chair, yes, we do have scaling done at the entry points and exit points of this particular granular inventory storage yard. We have a separate system that automatically captures the volume of the weight of materials coming in and going out, and we have a point in one of the observation that sites where we are also using manual controls to circumvent the automated scaling events.
But was that part of the audit process of the scaling aspects? Like if you're using a scale and there's a dollar value tied to that scale, that's a certified scale. We have to look at the fact of, we're scaling and scaling out, I get it, but are we using that as part of our controls?
Through the chair,
Mr. May, have the answer here.
Through the chair, for clarity, you're asking whether or not the scale we use have been certified. Is that
Well,
correct?
certified, and when we're bringing material in, I'm not worried about the material going out. Like, no one's taking truckloads of gravel off site. Like, that's just not happening.
But you're asking a specific question.
Yeah,
Is the
specifically,
scale certified?
once we bring this material in, are we just paying for it, or we actually got scale tickets to say we actually have a certified scale?
We have scale tickets. As to its certification for its accuracy, we don't know. The folks in this room don't know that,
Okay.
but we can follow that up for you.
Sure, perfect. So, yeah, that's it. To make sure that when we're buying the material, the material gets consumed. There's no doubt the material gets consumed. So when we buy the material, the audit should be, are we buying what we say we're buying? We're consuming it, we're putting it on the roads. Once it's on the road, we might recover it, we might not recover it.
To the chair, yes, we have done our testing around it. We have ensured that whatever is being received as per the scales, that is exactly what we are paying for.
Okay. Yeah, let's just get a certification and clarification that as we're paying for this stuff, we're actually getting scale tickets. We're actually saying that this stuff is what we're paying for. That's what the volume control should be looking like. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Mayor, you're up.
Thank you through the chair. And just kind of building on Councillor Bezo, I had a very similar question around, and just I guess reinforce it. I know you guys probably have to take it back, but I am interested in, like, do we reconcile the materials to the projects? I think that is, and then I guess just to build on that, more so, like, does the completion of projects, like, does that get looked at in relation to, any, audit concerns around materials getting used or not getting used? So just kind of that wholesome picture of the life cycle of the inventory. I don't know if that's something that you got into even just with discussions in ICAR, but I think just building on Council B's, got the exact same question around, the inventory is one piece, have it or don't have it. Is it counted? Is it accurate? But I think the usage in relation to projects, because we talk a lot about capital carryover and are we completing those projects, and how does that look? I think the materials that go into that, especially ones that we control on those facilities and those piles, would be good to know too. So again, more just, I think I've heard the answer that we're not there yet, but I just want to reinforce Councillor Bezo's question, because I think it's totally valid. I had the exact same question, and just to build on it to see, is there a reconciliation between project completion, the materials used, and the inventory that we carry for those projects. So, but thanks for the report. Appreciate the information and look forward to all the things that we're going to do.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the team? Thank you, Mr. Carson. You are next. Go ahead.
This is not so much a question, and in the recognition of the hour, I'd like to, from our previous meeting or orientation, Dina did indicate that the internal audit area is moving into an time of standardization and stabilization of the internal control process. I have some views on what should happen. However, I would rather suggest that I meet with Dina and his team to discuss these rather than to pose any question at this time, if that's okay.
That seems reasonable to me. Dina, thoughts?
Through the chair, I would absolutely welcome that.
I knew you'd say that. How's that, Mr. Carson?
Absolutely great, and if I ever forget to say through the chair again, throw it at me.
Oh, no, that's okay. Did you have a third thing you wanted to bring up tonight?
I believe Mr. Bezo did touch on it, and Dina had touched on it as well. Am I even on right now?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. Okay, I'll just touch on the third thing, and it has to do with the legal exposure to the city. We've already heard about manual quantity adjustments, the non-counting of inventory. These by themselves should draw immediate attention to what could be considered at best uncontrolled use of inventory for valid purposes, or at worst, theft. Although somebody said, who would ever drive out of the yard with 80,000 pounds of dirt? Well, I can think of a few people. However, when you combine those statements with additional audit comments about the existence of excessive privileges with access to inventory records, delayed account deactivation, and use of generic accounts with no assigned responsibility, to me as an auditor, there is an unacceptably high level of risk of unauthorized modifications. And as was pointed out by Mr. Bezos, weigh scales 508 voided transactions. That should draw some attention somewhere. Because somebody is voiding transactions, and although the report did indicate these were followed up on, that shouldn't be able to happen without documentation at that point in time. Even to a lay person attending their first meeting, having to read the audit report one day ago, it would surmise costly assets are at risk and could easily go missing. So my question has already been answered, and I wish to pursue it with Dina. But I think it's really, really important that pay more attention to this, guys. It's going to bite you.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Good advice. Can I consider that your closing statement on this item?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Oh, wait. Sorry, we have more questions. I'm sorry, Mr. Fowles. Go ahead, sir.
I just have a very broad question about the audit. This is for both the administration and for the auditor. I think this is a good example of one of those things where the comment's been made that the inherent risk associated with assets like this is pretty low. You could even have a debate about whether or not they're even assets. The material is heavy, it's bulky, hard to steal, hard to store, hard to sell, all that stuff. But at the same time, it's worth something. We counted at the end of the year, whatever. It's $6 million on our balance sheet. It's $6 million out of $3+ billion, right? So I see in this report, I've seen a few of these audit reports now, and it says on page 3, administration has accepted all the recommendations and has already been correcting or implementing controls, and that's great. And every one of these reports I've seen so far has that same thing in there, and I don't know whether to feel really good about that or to feel really scared about that, because it could mean one of two things. Like I have a tiny bit of experience on the auditor side and a lot of experience from an administration side, and I know that like auditors and administration don't agree on everything, right? Like sometimes as an auditor, I'm thinking, well, I think this is a problem, but I'm not really sure. And being an administration person, I've had auditors come to me with things they're convinced are problems, and I'm like, what have you been smoking? Like, are you serious? So I'm wondering about what the relationship is kind of between you two, not for this specific audit, it's a general question. Like, so do you talk these things out ahead of time to kind of hash it out? Like what really matters here? Because like you shouldn't be liking each other quite this much, it seems. So that's my question.
Dina, put the gloves on.
Through the chat, thank you so much for the question. I honestly believe in having a sort of practicality to audit reports. If it is too theoretical and we keep trying to fan the flame bigger, make things look bigger than what they actually are, then that is where you have a lot of conflict. If something is not happening, there is a reason why it's not happening. You have to understand the true purpose. And for that, we need to interact with the administration and the operational teams very well. Understand why something is not happening, what is the impact, why something that should have been done is not being done. And once you have that clarity of thought, then the recommendations become more practical and acceptable. It is not something that is not doable by the administration. And we don't issue all these recommendations, or we don't park all the observations till the very end and surprise the team with, you have 10 odd observations, everything is going wrong. That is not the approach we take. Then and there, when we notice issues, we have a conversations with the operational and financial teams to explain what we are seeing, whether we are right in our approach, is what we are considering a problem really a problem. So these conversations happen parallelly as and when we do the audit. So it's not like a team goes in, does the audit, and then issues a report which they are wondering what they are saying. So following this kind of a collaborative process ensures the recommendations are aligned, practical, and implementable by the administration team. one of the reasons why you are seeing that repetitive statement that administration has agreed to all recommendations and they're already working on it, it's actually true. They're actually started working on it. Some of these items that we have recommended are also well on their way of implementation. For example, the user access controls that we noted in WAM have already been rectified. So that is the kind of work process that we follow. Thank you so much for the question.
Chair, through the chair, I can just echo my own experience from the time that I was in an operating department where an internal audit had been performed on cash handling at our leisure centers. That the audit happened, we received the observations from the internal auditor, we were given the opportunity to review those observations, make sure that they meshed with our understanding of what was going on. And so it's not that those conversations don't happen or that it's by the time the report gets here, we've had those conversations. And so those conflicts have already occurred. And if there was something in that report that we felt strongly was a mischaracterization of the situation and that the recommendation or the finding wasn't fair or accurate, we would say that as part of our response to the report. That just hasn't been the case to date.
Mr. Fallows?
Yeah, through the chair, if I could just close, that's just a really impressive answer, and the people at the committee should feel good about the relationship between the administration and the internal auditor, and that's how it's supposed to work in theory, but most cases I've seen it just doesn't work that smoothly. So that's really a credit to both sides, and hopefully you can keep that going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fallows. Mr. Carson, go ahead.
One last very brief, through the chair, one last very brief comment touching on what Jim just said, and kudos to Dina and his group for the report, because it did contain a lot of content that you don't see in a lot of internal audit reports. I just want to comment on Jim's comment about I just don't see it normally. Well, I can tell you from personal experience that once a spotlight on the effective and efficient management of granular material inventory has switched to another of the myriad of programs or services or policies administered by the city, people tasked with improving this area will invariably, to some degree, return to the day-to-day activities that were the norm before change was thrust upon them. Gains will be lost. I guarantee it. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. There is a solution, but that's what I want to talk to Dina about, and I'll leave it at that and thank everyone for their time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carson. I'll take that as your close to this. And if there are no further questions, and there are not, I will ask the clerk to start the vote.
Through the chair, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn? Ooh, I don't know who was first. Look at those guys. Hey, everyone's being so nice tonight. I'll give it to you, Mr. Eng. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.